Popular demand, two of the Treasure State's favorite sons will host a series of youth football camps across Montana this summer. Fresh off leading Montana State to its first national championship game in 41 years, Taco Dowler and Adam Jones have decided to run it back at Montana State. Part of their desire to stay in Montana stems from being able to influence and inspire the next generation of Bobcats. Jones and Dowler will host 5 camps across the state in the month of June. The duo will be in Missoula on June 6th, Billings June 13th, Butte on June 20th, Helena June 21st, and Great Falls on June 27th. Athletes between the ages of 6 and 14 of all skill levels are welcome to sign up. Dowler and Jones will be accompanied by their Bobcat teammates, providing coaching and positive mentorship for the kids. Each camper receives a camp shirt, water bottle, snack, Gatorade, plus the opportunity to earn custom prizes personally selected by Adam and Taco. There will also be specific time carved out for autographs from all the Bobcats, and merchandise will also be available. If you'd like to sign up for these summer football camps, visit Taco and Adam SummerFootballCamps.com. The Taco and Adam football camps are probably presented by Taco Treat and Yellowstone Law. With Montana State football and their new defensive coordinator, who's also their old defensive coordinator, Bobby Daly, joining us here on Nuanez now. Coach, thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
Great to be here, man. Doing very well.
Well, you got to tell us about the foray to El Paso, Texas. So you coached for Montana State in 2024, then went to UTEP in 2025, and then came back just recently. So just take us through sort of the pathway and the timeline and maybe what you learned during your time in El Paso.
Yeah, sometimes opportunities present themselves, and, after talking with my wife and being offered the job down there in El Paso, we just felt like with her being from Texas, with it being an FBS school, it just felt like it was an opportunity for our family to get closer to her family. She's been chasing me around the country, at different stops. So I felt like I certainly owed that to her, and, was excited myself about the opportunity to coach FBS football. So that kind of led to the decision, and, went down there and, really loved our time in El Paso. It's a great community, a great city. They certainly took good care of us while we were down there. But after being there a year and, having another opportunity to come back up here, there was just some things that were kind of pulling me back home, if I'm being honest, whether it's family or, obviously the success that Montana State had, and we did not have nearly as much success at UTEP. So, I think there was a lot of things that went into the decision, but ultimately getting closer to family made a lot of sense.
Well, it's always hard to leave Montana, but when you're away, it's always it's like the most desirable thing to come back, right?
Right.
I mean, you can't wait to get back. So, I mean, the fact that your wife, though, is from Texas, did she miss it? I mean, do you think that helped you sell Montana the second time around to get her to come back?
She certainly, I think what we didn't necessarily anticipate is how far away El Paso really is from the rest
Right.
of Texas.
Yeah, right.
Very aware of Texas being a very big state, but, when it's an 8-9 hour drive to get back to Dallas, to get back to Houston, we just didn't see her family as much as maybe we were hoping. They drove out once, and after that it was a plane right away. Which Montana certainly is still too. So we just didn't get to see him nearly as much as we were hoping to. My wife absolutely loved the weather there. So the fact that we're having a warm winter here, really went into me selling the weather piece as far as her coming back. But, having lived in Bozeman for 6 years, this has certainly become home for her as well. She's got a lot of connections in the community. She was able to get her job back as soon as the news broke about me coming back. There were people banging on her door to get her back to work as well. So everything just kind of fell into place. And, after making the decision and everything that transpired after, it became pretty clear as the right one.
Well, getting a taste of FBS football as a coach, what were some of your experiences like, and what did you learn from just coaching at that level?
Yeah, I think it really gave me some appreciation as to what is super unique about Montana State. Went through 2 portal cycles, the spring portal cycle and then this winter portal cycle here in January. And, at the FBS level, especially when you're at that group of 6 level, you're getting picked off by all the bigger schools, and you're rebuilding a roster oftentimes year to year, sometimes semester to semester. And, the amount of portal recruiting that we were doing, and then you look at Montana State, and we took one kid in the portal at mid-year here. And I think it just speaks to the environment that's been created here by Coach Vegan. The players want to be here. I think it speaks to the support that we have within our program as far as the NIL money that we are paying our guys to be here. And ultimately, I think it speaks to a lot of Montanans on our roster that grew up wanting to be a Bobcat and want to see this thing through and want to be a part of it. Normally your best players are entering the portal because they're getting money thrown at them. And, we were able to hang on to a great deal of the best players on last year's roster.
Some of the region's best cowboys and cowgirls will be descending upon Bozeman, Montana for the annual Montana State Spring Rodeo, April 9th through the 12th. You won't want to miss the action, so be sure to get your tickets ahead of time. Thursday, April 9th, there's a 7 p.m. performance. Friday, April 10th, there's a 10 a.m. slack and a 7 p.m. short go. Saturday features a slack at 10 a.m. and a performance at 7 again. Then on April 12th is Championship Sunday with a short go performance at 1 p.m. Montana State will welcome 9 other schools from Montana and Wyoming, so it's a rodeo you don't want to miss. To find out more, contact the Bobcat Ticket Office at 406-994-2287 or visit montana.edu/spring rodeo. One of the best rodeos in the state, the Montana State Spring Rodeo, April 9th through the 12th.
You would be hard-pressed to find more experienced attorneys when it comes to major felonies, sex crimes, attempted homicides, anything like that, because between Nathan and I and Megan and the rest of the attorneys in the office, we just have a ton of experience in those types of cases. And a lot of that comes from the background of prosecution. So Nathan was a prosecutor in the Marine Corps. I was a felony prosecutor down in Beaverhead County. So we did every possible felony there is. Trial experience when it comes to that. Did attempted homicide trials back in Indiana. Other major felonies. What I would say to potential clients why they should reach out to us is I think we separate ourselves from the competition when it comes to communication with our clients, transparency. A lot of people get an attorney and they won't hear from them for 6 months or something like that, and that's the biggest complaint that we hear is communication with clients. And I think we separate ourselves in that way. And then as far as results, all you got to do is go to our website. I think we would put our results up against anybody here in the state when it comes to what we're able to do. And at the end of the day, justice is the goal, but there's also a lot of mitigating factors out there for people that, hey, 99% of people out there made a mistake, want to own up to it, and want to take responsibility. The 1%, that's a different conversation. But I think we're in a great position to offer a ton of services for clients.
Bobby Daly joining us here on Nuanez. Now maybe you're listening on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series, no matter how you're tuning in. Appreciate you for being here. The retention is such a key part of all of this, and it seems like it's more prevalent at Montana State than anywhere, not just in football, but everywhere else too, right? Like Matt Logie just put out a graphic about how every guy on his team is coming back. Taylor Chirick, she announced yesterday for women's basketball that she could go get a huge bag of money. You have to imagine with how good of a player she is. But it seems like that maybe fosters itself, right? Like the fact that it's been such a welcoming community. You got so much momentum as a university. So, do you agree with that? Do you sort of play off of that as a coach as well?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we talk about in this program is earn, not given. And I think, you can say that a lot of other places, but the proof is in the pudding here. We've been able to retain the top players by paying them well as well. So some of these offers that are coming to them from outside sources, whether they're in the portal or not, the tampering that's fully involved with portal recruiting, I think it just speaks to the support that we have for this program right now. And kids want to be a part of a winner, and I feel like the group of guys that came back this year that had opportunities to leave, they want to put their stamp on this program, not just by, winning one. They want to go back and do it again. And that's certainly part of my motivation being back here as well.
Take me through that part then. Obviously, I think one part that was so cool to me about Montana State winning the national championship is that it seemed as if people that have been a part of the program for years and years, like yourself, your whole family, they all sort of shared in it, right? This is something that took not just one team, but multiple decades of sort of building toward. But also, it had to hurt you to not be on the staff when they do take the trophy. So, how much does that drive you forward? And what was the experience like watching your alma mater that you love so much win the national championship?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch a lot during the season. Obviously, I had my own things going on, but during the playoff run, I got to watch full games and see who was contributing and see the guys that, weren't in the mix in 24 and see how they were developing themselves into excellent football players and were big pieces to the puzzle going into 25. Having been a part of recruiting the in-state kids, a lot of those connections, I just felt a sense of pride, not just for the university, but for the kids that, were doubted and ultimately overcame a lot of adversity, not just in that game, but throughout the season. And, a lot of pride, being a former Bobcat football player. And, my family, as you know, is intertwined into this university. And my folks were down at the national championship and, things like that, and so they were keeping me in the loop all the way around, and ultimately I made the decision to leave. So the only thing I can do now that I'm back is go chase another one.
The hunger that some of these guys that were central figures of this championship run last year, though, you can tell talking to them, that probably is contagious. So, I mean, just tell me about that dynamic. The fact, first of all, that you have a bunch of young men that actually do prioritize their legacy and sort of want to run it back to solidify that. But also how much you think that influences just the whole organization is the fact that those guys have that sort of attitude.
Yeah, I think it's everything starts at the top, from our leadership and Coach Vegan, but him, pouring into the leaders in this team as well, so, they're fully invested as far as leaders within this football team. And, I think that's a product of, like you said, a long time of building a culture around here where, we have a great senior class that leaves, but they've put the pieces in place to kind of show these other guys how it needs to be done to play at a high caliber level, to play at a championship level. Gone but not forgotten, as far as I'm concerned, because there's, you go all the way back to 2019 when I came back to Montana State. Some of those guys laid the foundation for the success that we had in 21, and some of those guys in 21 laid the foundation for the success, to follow them. So it is certainly a culture that's been created around here, and guys have seen it done, guys have seen it worked, so they're certainly all in and bought in.
When it comes to just you readjusting, probably not that big of an adjustment, right? Because you run on the same defense you guys have ran for the last, since Coach Vegan took over. So just tell me about that part, though, just sort of being back in the fold and being back in a chair you've already sat in before.
Yeah, I think what I didn't anticipate going to UTEP was not only getting to know new coaches, getting to know new players, but having coaches that, I was coaching them a lot as far as what I wanted things to look like. And then that we were taking pieces from the defense prior to me getting there and trying to feel what fit. So they were coaching me at times as far as how they have done things. And there was a lot of collaboration and a lot of discussions as far as getting everybody on the same page, which ultimately I felt like we got there. But walking back into this building, the coaches in place, man, they know exactly how they want it to look, and it's exactly how I want it to look as well. So there's a lot less of that, and then we can really focus on minor details and getting guys better incrementally. The player piece, I don't think there's a guy in the building that I didn't know other than a couple guys that we got at midyear, as I mentioned earlier. So very familiar with the faces in the building, and that certainly made the transition much easier.
Well, tell me about the linebackers then, a group that has continued to grow. You mentioned that you had some of those guys when they were young guys, and I thought multiple players had huge breakout years last year, led by Cole Taylor, but also including Bryce Grebe. Neil Daly's been a guy that's been making waves the last couple of years as well. So what do you thought of just the way the group has grown in your time away, and what sort of challenges do you have for them this spring?
Yeah, when I departed, we had a pretty good idea as far as what Neil Daly could give us, what Bryce Grebe could give us, but we weren't sure, who was going to be in that too deep. And for Cole Taylor to make the jump that he did, for Xavier Aarons to walk into this building as a true freshman and be able to pick up the defense and execute it as well as he did. Ryan Crea played well last year. So I think it's really a credit to Coach Owens and, what he was able to do from a developmental standpoint to bring those guys along because obviously they weren't quite ready in 2024, but they made a big jump over the offseason.
Town & Country Foods is proud of its tradition of providing excellent customer service and quality groceries at an affordable price. Town & Country Foods is proud to be locally owned and operated across the state of Montana, and they are proud to support Montana State Athletics. Town & Country Foods is 100% employee-owned, and they have 9 locations serving towns throughout Montana. Town & Country Foods is in Bozeman, Belgrade, Helena, Livingston, Lewistown, Billings, and in Dillon. Their focus is on great food at a great price with a huge selection of organic and natural foods. For more information, visit tncfoods.com.
Will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life. Because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
Cole Taylor particularly, I mean, what an awesome story. I know that you guys sort of saw it in him, but I don't know if anybody thought he was going to be that good that fast. Sort of one of those when he gets thrown into the fire, how's this guy going to do? Well, I'm sitting there watching the second half of Oregon. I'm like, this guy's one of the best guys on the field right now. In his ability to trigger and get downhill. You could tell he's still sort of feeling it out and learning what the heck he was doing. But in terms of like see ball, get ball, go downhill and tackle somebody, he's pretty darn good. He popped pretty quick. So what's the next step for him, though? How do you continue to challenge him and get the most out of his potential?
Yeah, I mean, it's a credit to Cole and his work ethic, too, because when he walked into this building, he had never even played defense. He had been a quarterback his whole life. So, I mean, we were starting at absolute ground zero as far as tackling, where your eyes need to be. I mean, there was very little knowledge as far as what we were asking him to do. And for him to be able just to be a sponge over the last 2 years and then have the season that he did, is really a credit to him. And what I've challenged him on is to take the next step is I thought he did an excellent job in the run game. I think he can get better at tackling in space, and I think he can get better at blitzing. And those 2 areas are areas of focus right now. But ultimately, what we're going to ask him to do 90% of the time, he's got a great feel for that. And now we just got to, reach that ceiling that we're all trying to get to.
When you do have a guy that's that raw, though, that's probably actually kind of fun as a teacher, right? Like you get to teach him how to have perfect fundamentals. A lot of times, especially guys from Montana, they get by on just being the man,
Right.
running sideline to sideline and hitting. It's probably kind of fun for you as a teacher to get sort of like a unmolded piece of clay.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting at scratch, so there's no bad habits to break, so that's probably what you're referring to. But I think the other piece is Cole's really intelligent too, so it became pretty clear to me he understood, what we were asking of him, and then getting his body to a point where he could do the things that we were asking him to do. And sometimes you worry about, bringing a quarterback over to defense and whether he's going to be tough enough to do that. And I could tell for sure, when he was a true freshman, that toughness wasn't going to be the issue. We were going to have to pull him back as far as the physicality that's required to play on defense. So that was really refreshing. And once I saw he had the physical toughness to do it and he had the mental capacity to handle it, I knew it was just a matter of time. There's typically, that moment in development where just things start to click, and I started to see them click when, in 2024 when he would get in at the end of the games and things of that nature. But for him to take the next step, this last off season and get himself into a all Big Sky position, as far as being a linebacker, is a credit to him and Coach Owens.
Bobby Daly, Montana State defensive coordinator, joining us. How about the defensive front? That's obviously a big talking point, given you had 4 seniors and a couple first-team all-conference players? I know there's a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps for you, but has anybody emerged from that group, and how important is it to just sort of find new leadership and a new hierarchy there on the front defensively?
Yeah, to your point, I think there's 4 guys in particular, 5 that have played significant snaps for us, and they have to have the ability to up those reps. So whether it's Dom, whether it's Zach Cruz, whether it's Talon Marsh, Zach Black, all of those guys have been in the mix, whether it was 23, 24, and certainly last year in 25. But we're really looking for that next wave of guys to be able to have some depth at that position so we can keep those guys fresh and have a healthy rotation up front. And, that's where we're at right now in spring, is seeing who is emerging, who is stepping up. There's a freshman, Josiah Oswego, who I think is going to be a heck of a football player. I think Seth Brock is coming along as an excellent pass rusher and diving into the details of his position. Jake Vegan has changed his body since I left, and he's doing an excellent job. Hunter Charbonneau, so that's kind of that next wave of guys, and ideally, we can get them to a point where we think of them very similar to those other 4 that I mentioned to begin with, as far as equally. So there's no drop off when we bring those first 4 off the field.
Nation, we're so proud to have played for Montana State.
It wouldn't be where we are today without this program.
Now it's our turn to give back. Bobcat Collective is making a real difference for current and future athletes.
Montana State gave us a foundation to pursue our NFL dreams.
Join us in building something special, because when we invest in our athletes, we invest in the future of Bobcat football. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Join the collective today. Go Cats.
Some of the region's best cowboys and cowgirls will be descending upon Bozeman, Montana for the annual Montana State Spring Rodeo, April 9th through the 12th. You won't want to miss the action, so be sure to get your tickets ahead of time. Thursday, April 9th, there's a 7 p.m. performance. Friday, April 10th, there's a 10 a.m. slack and a 7 p.m. short go. Saturday features a slack at 10 a.m. and a performance at 7 again. Then on April 12th is Championship Sunday with a short go performance at 1 p.m. Montana State will welcome 9 other schools from Montana and Wyoming, so it's a rodeo you don't want to miss. To find out more, contact the Bobcat Ticket Office at 406-994-2287 or visit montana.edu/spring rodeo. One of the best rodeos in the state, the Montana State Spring Rodeo, April 9th through the 12th.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
On the back end, how's things looked so far, and what sort of growth do you want to see there?
We're really deep at safety and nickel. A lot of those guys have played a significant amount of football, and obviously with having 3 corners leave the building, that's an area where we really are only returning to Kari Carr as far as a guy who's taken significant snaps for us. So I do think there are young guys in the program that are coming along. Tim Thomas comes to mind. Marcus Coleman comes to mind. Our transfer, Gianni, comes to mind. But we have safeties that can cover as well, So what I'm seeing is a group of safeties that have the ability to cover, and we're playing with some safeties and nickels out there at corner right now due to some depth and injuries things that are going on, and they've looked really good. So I do think, between the young guys in the program, bringing them along, but also having returning guys that have played a lot of football and have coverage ability gives us some flexibility on the back end.
This time of year, you're often going, you're always going against yourselves, right? But you're going to get a chance to go 1s versus 1s quite a bit, 2 versus 2, stuff like that. the fact that Montana State has such a great offense and such great veteran leadership on that side coming back, how much can that challenge your guys, and how much are you sort of leaning into embracing that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. You know, I firmly believe iron sharpens iron. And if we're going against one of the best offenses in the country, that's only going to make us better. And hopefully they see us as one of the best defenses in the country, and hopefully we're making them better as well. But, got a ton of respect for Justin Lamson. He was one of the guys who I didn't know through the process, but developed a great amount of respect just watching him play. His competitiveness, his toughness, and that's on full display, man. There's a lot of barking going back and forth between him, the receivers, and some of our DBs and linebackers, and it's fun, healthy competition, but at the same time, hopefully we're all making each other better.
Well, last thing for you, then, what's the main goals for you guys just these next couple of weeks leading up to the spring game? What do you hope to get out of it?
Yeah, I want to see guys tackle when we get those opportunities. Right now, obviously we're taking care of guys' bodies, and we had our first live tackle drills today. So we'll get more of those opportunities. But I think that's a huge part of being great at defense is having the ability to get guys on the ground. So that'll be something that we continue to emphasize. But ultimately, I'd love to come out of spring ball feeling great about our two deep. If we feel good about our two deep at every position, I think that gives us a great opportunity to weather the storm of any potential injuries that might occur in the fall. So that two deep is definitely at the top of my mind.
Bobby Daly here on the Big Sky Breakdown, as well as Nuanez now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, Coach. Appreciate the time, man. Good seeing you, and best of luck with the rest of the spring. We'll see you there at the Sunny Holland Classic here in a couple weeks, but thanks for doing it.
Thanks for having me.